Kevin Bacon's murder was shocking, grisly, and ritualistic. The body of 25-year-old Kevin Bacon was hanging from the ceiling in a hidden room of Mark Latunski's home.
This video contains the interview of a man who ate part of his victim before being discovered. 25-year-old Kevin Bacon, like many his age, had turned to dating apps to look for relationships or encounters with others. This is how he found Mark David Latunski, an older man with experience in some of the darker scenes. After going missing on Christmas Eve of 2019, Bacon was found murdered inside Latunski's Bennington Township home. Latunski told police he used a knife to stab Bacon in the back, then slit his throat.
Is Mark David Latunski. That is not my legal name.
Oh, it isn't?
No. That is a stolen identity. Mark David Latunski was last, or at least the last record that I have of Mark David Latunski was 1972. He was born in 1969. He has black hair, he has brown eyes, and he was born a cripple. As all of the grand cripples. So, what happened to Mark David Latunski? I have no idea.
Okay.
However, all of the people that I grew up with knew that I'm not Mark David Latunski, and they just failed to tell me. My mother had a funeral in 1981.
Okay, so she died in 1981. Sorry to hear that. Okay. So what is the name that you prefer or that you use?
Now, well, here, as long as you're filling, my father.
What's his date of birth?
I have no idea.
Where does he live?
He passed away in, I believe, 2002. He lived somewhere in Owasso, as I recall.
Okay.
Now, I was raised by my sister. However, when I did my ancestry DNA, and I'm not a Latunski, so I did the digging, and when I confronted the people that I was raised with, they said, oh, now you know. I said, okay, so who's Mark Latunski? Who knows? At least as far as I know. I know he was born. I have a birth certificate. But the dates on that birth certificate span 1969 to 1972. So I was born no earlier than 1969 and no later than 1972 when two cousins from my family, genetic family, signed off on those state of Michigan documents. I don't know if that document is a death certificate for Mark Latunski or not. But I've been using that name to go to school, get an education, hold a job, but it's not me, and everyone in this county knows it. Because when my mother died, that's when it became public knowledge to everyone except for me.
Okay.
So, is my name Mark David Latunski? No. My name is Edgar Thomas Hill.
So you're Edgar Thomas Hill.
That's...
Latunski claims this isn't his real name. While this may or may not be true, he also believes himself to be royalty, which certainly isn't.
And that name is a family name because my grandfather, my great-grandfather, and my great-great-grandfather
Okay.
So,
What's your date of birth?
I don't know.
Okay. What is the name that you prefer to be called?
Well, when I started to realize that that was a stolen identity, one, I stopped voting. Two, I'd been trying to get rid of it for a long time because that name is a name of a bunch of people that I have absolutely no relationship to. So the name that I go by is Olykos.
How do you spell it?
OlyKos.
Okay.
And that's at least a common name that I use. But only because I've never really used any of those other names. And when I hear the name Mark Latunski, I know that somebody's talking garbage. It's not real.
Okay, Olykos.
So,
all right. You were brought down here, obviously. Well, when the police came to your house, they put you in the handcuffs, and then you were driven down here.
yes.
And I want to talk to you, but before I can do so, because you're in handcuffs and you're brought down here, I need to advise you of your Miranda rights.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm going to read you your Miranda rights form. Once we get through those, then we'll talk to you about what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the first thing is you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to talk to a lawyer and have him or her present with you before or during questioning. If you want a lawyer but cannot afford one will be appointed to represent you at public expense. If you waive the right to remain silent and later wish to stop answering questions, the questions will stop. And if you waive the right to have a lawyer present and later change your mind, the question will stop until you have talked to the lawyer. Olykos, do you understand each of the rights I've explained to you?
I understand them.
Okay. Is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay. And are you willing to give up these rights and answer my questions at this time? Basically, I want to talk to you about what's going on.
I'm perfectly happy to talk, yes.
Okay. Today's date is 28/2019 at approximately 5:56 a.m. Well, I don't want to offend you in any way, so why don't you up here sign your name and date of birth? And all that says is that you understand your rights. That's all it's saying. So I don't want you to get upset if...
Let me see. If, and I guess the question is, what name do you want?
Whatever name you want to go by.
You mean for this interview?
Correct.
Okay, fine. Your full name, I will use this one. There we go.
And then the date of birth that you use.
Unknown. That's the best of my knowledge of when that was.
Okay, so you sign, is that Wilk, W-I-L-K?
That's Vilk Olykos Vilkas.
Okay. Alrighty. So...
Latunski has settled on a name to use for the interview, and after being read his rights, the important questions will begin.
Obviously, police came to your house. They were doing a welfare check.
They were doing a welfare check?
Right. They were looking for the person.
Okay.
Okay. So
I understand based on what you're saying. Sure.
Yeah. So that's basically how the police came and contacted you. But before I go into that, what do you do? You said you mentioned you work. What do you do for a living?
Well, right now I'm doing construction. What I have done for a living is had my trust funds raided by people who were pretending to employ me and giving me back my own money. That was my employment up until February of this year. That ran through 2 companies. The first one was Flint Inc. No complaints about them on my part. They acted very honorably. But when they realized how deep they were in, they sold the business, got the hell out of Dodge, and passed it off to the international bankers. American Chemical got in a little bit deeper because they decided to send a member of the family to New York and sit down with the New York bankers so that they knew the extent and breadth of the trust funds that they were being paid by. I don't know the details of that.
What did you do for Flint Inc.?
For Flint Inc., I worked as a bench chemist.
Okay, so is that a tattoo place, or is that...
No,
I don't know what Flint Inc.
Flint Inc. So printing inks. The manufacturer of the inks that go on everything from newspapers to packaging or anything else that's printed. I mean, they got into digital printing, but they spun it off as, but ink, I-N-K, but not tattoo place. No.
Okay. And then what did you do for American Chemical?
I have no idea what I was actually doing. The stuff that they had me just signing off on ended up being just garbage. I was a quality manager for a company whose business model was to have no quality. So I was pretty much a lie detector. If we can fool this guy, man, we're scot-free. We can get away with anything. So that is the extent. Did I ever really stop anything? No. I would tell them, this is what I'm finding, and they just do it in some other way where I couldn't see it.
How long did you work at American Chemical?
Oh, I worked there for 12 years. Roughly. It was about 12 and 12. I'm rounding because it was 2007 to 2019. Yeah, so about 12 years.
Okay. I'm trying to see. And then how long did you work at Flint Inc.? Like what years did you work there?
That was 1996 to 2007. So, 11, like I said, rounding, it was about 12 and 12.
Okay.
I mean, it's well past the 10. But.
Okay. So when you're not working, what do you do?
Well, right now I'm just doing construction, working on building the house, picking up odd jobs, and this was the thing. When I realized that I was paying myself out of these trust funds, and that the money as I got contacted by the New York bankers. I don't know what happened, why they contacted me directly, but something must have happened. And I learned a little bit about how the money was being pulled out of the trust fund and how money could be pulled out of the trust fund to do things other than what it was supposed to be. Now, other people who have things like this, they look at them and they say, okay, so it's and they gave a name for it. It was either a show or a no-show trust. And it's like, okay, so you had a show trust, fine. But with that going on, I looked at it and I said, well, wait a minute. If there's been bad stuff going on in the background, well, let's put the brakes on this shit, because in any case, it's financial stuff.
So in the spare time you do financial stuff?
Well, I work on financial financial.
The description of Latunski's job history shows that he is prone to rambling. This may eventually be useful in getting him to reveal more information, but there is also the possibility that they will have to actively keep him on track.
Stuff. I have a banker. He's my New York investor that I work with. I have a second one who's here in Michigan. And then in my spare time, I'm doing construction. But because I was looking for honest work, I started trying to pick up odd jobs where I would do something. Put up someone's drywall. No go. And so finally, using the name Vilcus, I put an ad on RentMan, and man, if I can give a massage and somebody's going to pay me, that's more honest money than what I was doing at American Chemical. What they were doing was downright disgusting, things that nobody should do. And I look at them, if a man's going to pay me to rub him down, fine.
So how long have you been doing that?
Probably I started it in about April of this year.
So like massages?
Just massages. It's like, you know what? I'll spend time with you. Man can't guarantee sex. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So, hey, guess what? I can't sell that because that's not the way the world works. But you want to spend your time with me? Boom. Here's your price. And I'll have a good time with it, and you will as well.
So when you say here's your price, that's how much you would charge?
Yeah, $200 an hour, $1,500 a day. And if you look at it and you say, you want to dicker a deal on it, guess what? I'm not doing this because I want to. I'm doing it for honest money. Mm-hmm. Pulling my own money out of a trust fund is not honest money.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's stupid.
Okay.
The fact is that my mother passed away on the very day that I would have come of age by our culture, and I would have had to have been told that she was my mother, and that I wasn't just, this little kid. I was her son and had this trust fund. Now I talk to people and I say, what are the chances that the very person who held the trust in guardianship, who was required to tell me, passes away on the very day that she would have had to have done that?
So when you said come of age, what did you mean come of age?
It was my 12th birthday.
And you said come of age for your culture. So I honestly...
I'm Norwegian.
Okay, so you're Norwegian.
I'm Norwegian.
So what is... Explain to me then what coming of age for a Norwegian means, because I don't know.
4 multi-generational trust funds that would have been set up who knows when. Things that I don't control the conditions of any more than my mother controlled the conditions of them, which is why the people in New York, the families in New York that I've been in touch with here and there, all know more details than I do because they know much more. All I know is that I'm sitting here as the only living Thomas of Wales that I've been able to find. And
so you're a Thomas of Wales?
I am a Thomas of Wales, and I reached out to the people in Great Britain to find out if there are any more.
Okay.
Because
Latunski's belief and obsession that he is royalty, and people have kept it a secret from him, is consistent with his diagnosis of schizophrenia.
As I have looked amongst my blood relatives, I don't think there are any other Thomas of Wales of the Thomas of Wales clan left except for me. So to what extent that makes one iota of difference to why we're talking, I don't know. It's not like I have a whole bunch of people that I can go up to and say, okay, beyond what these people here in Shiawassee know, what gives? Some of them will give me some details, and some people just clam up. But at this point, you look at it and you say, come on, get out of the bag. And that's when the people that I grew up with said, okay, fine, well, that's it? That's all you're going to tell me? Yeah, that's all we're going to tell you. See ya. Like, you know what? If you're saying see ya, so am I. Why am I Mark David Latunski? I'm not. And you knew it, and I knew it. But having that stolen identity kept me alive when all of the rest of my family is not. And that is what the New York banker finally said, bingo. So if that's what my mother had to do to keep me alive, she was a very smart woman, because it didn't keep her alive.
So when you started doing the rub down of these men, that kind of leads me into, I guess, what is going on with the, why we're here, there's a welfare check that you let the troopers go in and graciously search your house, and they see a man that, who is that man?
Well, and again, when you talk to those, on those sites, you can get any name or no name.
What sites did you meet him on?
Gosh, I would have. I think that one was Grindr.
Okay.
But no matter. We chatted for a while. He described the things that he wanted. I did what I could to...
The initial contact between Latunski and his victim is brought up, and Latunski claims that they discussed what Bacon wanted to happen when they met. He gives all the appearances of being sincere, but that means nothing for someone who speaks with the same conviction when they say they are a member of a royal family.
Bring those things about, and after we sat and made an agreement about what was going to happen, we made the agreement, and he was supposed to disappear, be gone. He had But you know as well as I do that in our society, although we say, a man can just go, does our society really allow that? No. And what it leaves behind is all kinds of I'm going to say, things for his family that a man doesn't want to leave. Now, the things that I set up for him and plan to do for him in that regard would do something for his family that would make it easier. But that agreement between him and I really shouldn't have anything to do with anything but him or I.
So what was the agreement?
in total. One, that I would, well, and I started to do. It's like, this is what it is. And he looked at it. I mean, we laid together for a while. He asked me to. I did.
I'm sorry, asked you to do what? Just lay with him?
Just lay with him. Just lay with him and hold him. And finally, he says, you know what? I'm ready. And at that point, that was kind of it. Now, the going away part and the portions for his family, knowing that I have, and as I explained to him, I know that there are leases and properties that are attached to my estate. And I said, you know what? Because I fully expected, because we talked through all of the options. I said, look, because of who I am and who I've been, in one way or another, the people who control the trust find out the best way to either A, get me out of the way, B, keep me safe, or C, protect me in some way. Why or how? Sometimes I know and sometimes I don't know.
So how does the trust have to do with the man in the basement?
Well,
or doesn't it?
It does. It does. Because with that, there were things that I was going to do for his family. See, our portion of the trust, or at least what I'm beginning to see lay out, just as my home is the original Garrison home that sits along the I-69 corridor, the rest of the portions of the key homes along the north side of I-69 are also all owned by my family. My father's family. So, knowing and having different neighbors tell me that there are more properties that are on things like 99 and 100-year leases, one of the things that I said was, you know what? When these leases come due, where's your family live? He says, south of I-69. I says, they don't want to be there. The line of chaos and non-chaos is I-69. Population to the south, low population to the north. I said, so if you're south of I-69, when they turn that line into a border of defense, then your family's on the wrong side. You want to have your family on the north side of I-69. You want your family to have food supplies on the north side of I-69. I said, if I can bust open this trust and I get the ability to talk to the New York bankers, then why not?
So how did
give it to you?
So the man in the basement, when did he come to your house?
I picked him up. We met, physically met, in Swartz Creek. And that was when because he had given me details of what he wanted. And so I said, well, I'll tell you what. I will bring all of the things that you would need so that you can see them. I said, I will lay them out in front of you. I said, I'm not going to force you.
Even the detectives are confused about how the supposed trust fund comes into play. Latunski attempts to explain that he was going to do something for the family of the victim, but what that is, he never really makes it clear.
Okay, so you meet him in Swartz Creek.
I met him in Swartz Creek.
On what day?
Well, that would be the 24th.
Okay, on 12/24, Christmas Eve. Okay.
It was Christmas Eve.
And then,
Was that the first time that you had ever met him in person?
That was the first time I'd ever met him. I had chatted with him, so I had a tremendous amount of detail of what he was looking for. Only what he was looking for.
And you're trying to help him.
What?
You were trying to help him.
Well,
The system.
in that regard, I took everything that I had to set it up, and I put it into a bag. I laid it out in the trunk so that it was there in the back of the van. And then I got in the front, and I said, "You decide." And at that point, he says, "I've made my decision." I said, take and, put on the different gear that he wanted, that he'd selected. He'd taken some and said, no, not this one, he picked it all out. He wanted to make sure that he was comfortable, and that he was as well as without going on. I don't want to have the details on any record. It doesn't need to be there. What he wants is what he wants is what he wants.
Sure.
But at that point, I said, you know what? I'm not going to put these on you. I says, take what you have, take it off, put it in this bag. And he says, you know what? Can I text a friend and say, you know what? I'm just going to be out, and whatever we blabbered about. And I say blabbered just because I said, you know what? You say whatever you want to say. And he says, okay, now that I've sent it, I'm going to turn my phone off. Okay.
That was all at the parking lot?
That was all still in the parking lot.
Okay.
do you know what store? Was it the parking lot?
No, it was just a parking lot there on Grand River not Grand River, Miller Road in Swartz Creek.
Okay.
And I said, if you're ready, I said, if you're doing this, then you put the stuff on. And then, so I sat in the front while he did all of that.
So you're in the front of your vehicle.
I was in the front of my vehicle.
What kind of vehicle do you have?
It's a van. It's a Hyundai Santa Fe, gray.
All right.
So I sat in the front, and he went in the back. He got all ready, and I said, look, this way you're leaving everything behind, and it's like done. And at that point he says, okay, I'm ready. I went around and I shut the trunk, and then I put, he gave me the key so that I could lock the car. I put his bag in the back. I locked the car.
You locked his vehicle?
I locked his vehicle.
So his stuff is in his vehicle?
His stuff was in his vehicle.
And then does he stay in the back of your van?
And he stayed in the back of my van.
Okay, and then you leave the parking lot.
And then I left the parking lot.
Okay.
And then we went back to the house.
Do you know what you did with the keys for the car?
The keys were... See, he had the keys at first. He gave them to me.
Good. Well, it's just a minor detail. I'm just curious.
I don't know.
I appreciate it.
But in any case, we went back to the house.
It seems odd that he had Bacon change his clothes in the van if they were only going to be going to the house anyway. But the process seems perfectly logical to Latunski.
I went through the...
Okay. Was it just you?
Able to, look, you have to look at this and say, one, because involving lots of different people, it then gets a little precarious. But in any case, going through all of that and working through it, it was finally, at the, I'm going to say, end of the evening or beginning of the next morning. It was that time frame that finally, and we've talked about several things. What was I going to do? And part of it was the process of turning, that what for. Turning them into something that would grow tulips for his family. He says, but my family will never know that it's me. I says, no. Tulips are starvation food. They'll know that they'll have tulips. They'll know that. Do you want them to know that that's something that you're giving them? And he says, no. It's not something that I want them to know. Is this something that you want them to know? And he says, no. It's not something that I want them to know. I says, so if we can just make this happen, then he says, you know what? In talking about this, I've never done this before. I've never done this before.
Okay, so what did you do?
Well, after talking to him in multiple ways, that was when he. And I says, well, I could slit your throat. Here's the knife. I could do it that way, and I couldn't do it.
Okay.
I says, I don't know if that would be painless. And we debated it, all of the different ways. I said, I have a sword upstairs, but it's dull. It wouldn't work. I was afraid I would hurt him. And he said, and I'm not ready. I couldn't do that. I couldn't run the risk of maiming him and having him suffer. And after we debated it, I said, you know what? I think that given what we've got right here, if I just that will do it. I was, not really, and finally. And I did, and he says, laying on the floor, and it would be across the room, and he had his head facing I'm going to say it would be the east wall. And so when I went in, you know, and when you obviously have in the picture there's the spray that went to the west, and you know, it's like that was, and he says, done. And you know, there was a fair amount of blood, and you know, then it's like, you know, and I went, I don't want him to suffer.
No,
and I went,
I can see that.
and that was, and then of course it was a matter of doing what I needed to do to complete what I told him I would do. Turn him into something that would produce life. And that's what I was in the process of doing.
Where's the knife now?
It is upstairs in, because I cleaned it off, and it is upstairs in the dresser drawer. I think on the right-hand side, top.
Is it a bedroom, someone's bedroom, or your bedroom?
Yes.
So it's a guest bedroom?
No. I put it up in my bedroom.
Oh, your bedroom.
Just because, I mean, I had, you know, again, knowing at least the bits and pieces of the conversations that we've had over periods of time,
What does the knife look like?
What's it look like?
Yeah, is it like a kitchen knife? Is it, you know what I'm saying?
No, it's just a hunter's knife.
It's a hunter's knife. What color is it?
It has a black blade. I actually, you know, it has a black and gray handle.
Okay.
Is it a fixed blade?
Fixed.
So it doesn't move, it's not
No.
like a...
Latunski describes killing Bacon as if he is talking about an interesting yet messy science project. There is no attempt to hide his actions, and every indication that he thinks this was a perfectly normal thing to do.
I'm picturing something like, you remember the movie Rambo? You ever see Rambo? Or it's about that big with a handle and a big blade.
The blade is only about that long.
Oh, okay.
Is it serrated or smooth?
Smooth. It was smooth blade.
And it's in your bedroom.
It's in my bedroom.
In a dresser drawer.
In a dresser, and I think it's there. Yes.
Okay. Been hearing your stomach growling and stuff?
No, I didn't hear growling.
Okay. So let me back you up, and I'll get into all of it. So you meet this person on Grindr on Christmas Eve, which is the 24th.
Well, that was when I physically. That's the first time I physically met
So
him.
let me back up then. Yeah.
And we had you know, talked for. He actually known and had talked with the guy who I was living with for, you know, in the past as well. So, you know, however it works.
So you two physically meet the first time after the agreement for you wanted that to happen. So you meet him Christmas Eve. Do you know about what time it was that you met him? it doesn't have to be exact. 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 9 o'clock?
No, I really don't know.
Okay.
Because...
was it daylight or was it dark?
It was right near dusk.
Okay. So you meet in the parking lot.
I mean, at that time, and again, however it was, but time. It was a matter of I was in town. I was running some errands with some stuff, and that he sent me a message that just said, you know what, I'm ready. Where do you want to meet?
Okay.
And I said, hey, it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, so
where do you want to where?
So he arrives in his vehicle. You arrive in your vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
You have the gray Hyundai van.
Yep.
You have items laid out in the back of the van.
Mm-hmm.
And then he gets out and he sees the items. He decides what he's going to put on or what he's going to wear.
He
made those decisions.
He made all of those decisions of what exactly what pieces of what was there he wanted, and based on, like I said, it was full. There were some things that went back into the bag, and some things that he put on, and some things he says, well, you know what, maybe I'll try those later, but let's not start with that. I says, look, you need to put these on. I says, I'm not going to force you to I'm not going to force you to do anything.
Right.
This is you.
Okay.
And
so he puts the stuff on. You lock up his car to make sure all of his things
that everything is secure, so that nobody's going to come in and steal anything.
Right. Because I understand. So then you drive to your house. You get back. You get back to the house, and you guys go inside. When you get home to the house, is it just you two?
It's just us two.
Okay. So when this, instead of being
I have no idea. Like I said, and even it's kind of hard to gauge time in something like that because time just kind of takes its own toll, and like I said, after the over, and it was like, okay, I took you to this point. It's like, did I accomplish it? I said, what was your brain telling you? Was it real? Was it not real?
Some information has been censored from the video, so it's a little hard to tell exactly what Latunski did at this time. There still doesn't seem to be an understandable motive for the murder.
What portion? He says, you know what? You really made me. He really, and that was after the illusion of that portion was done, and it was at that point he says, okay, I'm ready.
Okay, so after the took place, did it take place upstairs in your bedroom or downstairs where he is right now?
It was all downstairs.
Okay, so nothing sexual happened upstairs?
No.
Between you two? No, only down in that room?
Oh, yes. Yes. I mean, there was, an initial, there was an initial portion up in the kitchen, but yeah, it was kitchen, and then downstairs, and then and that's all there.
In that basement. Now he's after. Let me see, because he was in the it was after he was deceased that and I knew that I wanted to have him, and I'm gonna say, I don't know what the right word is for it, is that as soon as he was at the point of being unconscious, and it was after he that was when it was like, uh-oh, I need to make sure that this is quick and not drawn out.
Okay.
And so it was then that it's like, okay, let's get this so that he
quicker?
It was I was trying to speed it up at that point because he was already unconscious.
Okay.
But I could tell, because, you could tell he was, in any case, it was the realization of this wasn't enough, and that was when, I hoisted and got all of that set up and had to apply. I had actually, I was using that, and the weight had broken. Once he was clearly deceased, then I was like, okay, let's get him up as much as I could, so that one, what blood there was that was in the sand could go out into the flower bed.
Sure.
And that way.
Latunski walks the detectives through Bacon's final moments, and they try to gain insight into his thought process. Latunski doesn't seem to have any anger toward Bacon or any standard motive to kill, such as revenge, love, or financial gain.
I could take care of the rest.
okay. So you guys are down there. Where you keep saying. Here. So you're pointing here. Okay, so you're pointing right at the hairline. When you do this, is he on the ground? There was a chair down there. Was he sitting in a chair?
No, the chair was not in there at the time. I put the chair in after, when I was trying to get to take the horse chestnut, or not the horse chestnut, the chestnuts, and plunk them in the same way, so that they would be growing. Now, I didn't go through some of that. Look, we're gonna make sure that this becomes something that's other. And we in any case, so it was the after portion of cleaning him up. What I didn't get to yet was to wash him up, clean him up, and I started to pull the sand out that was there to start to clean it up, but it was a matter of, it takes a little bit of time to, depending if you've ever processed a deer.
Sure.
Let
the blood drain out.
It's the same process, and it's just a matter of saying, how do you do it?
Okay, so the first one right here, you realize he's still alive.
Mm-hmm. And
what do you do?
That was when I just reached down, because he is laying, and
is he face down or face up?
He is. Well, he actually when we were talking, we were just laying on the ground side by side, and he was face up. And then when after we talked about all of the different options of how do we do this, that was when that's where, so he was, I'm going to say, on his stomach,
okay,
face towards the east,
okay,
and that
with his head down by the dirt area?
With his head facing that east wall.
No, I know, but I mean, if this is the head of his body, this is his feet.
He was on the wood.
He was on the wood. Is this the area where that dirt is at?
Yeah, there's the dirt area.
Yeah. So he's like that.
Right.
This is his head.
Right, because...
you want to draw a picture? Maybe that would... Here, I'll pull a piece of paper out. That way we have a much better idea of what you're talking about.
Because you've got a rectangular room. Okay. You've got the door here with the St. Andrew's cross on it. Okay. And then the end of the area is here, so it's dirt here, and he was laying this way with his head here, and he was facing that direction.
Where's the door that you walk into the room?
The door is here.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And so, he was laying here, and I was here.
Okay.
At the point that we did it, and then in order to get him it was after he was here, he was already dead. So he died here. Getting it up, and had to pull off the sling that was, and that's the chains that are hanging on each side.
Right.
That's the sling and where that all was. And so it was there. Then it was.
Did you do this by yourself? You didn't have help?
I did it all by myself, and that's why he was the getting him basically.
Do you remember what day that was? Because you said that you met initially on the 24th.
24th.
So When did this part all take place?
It was...
Was it the same night or the next day, or? So Christmas was Wednesday.
Well...
So the 25th was on Wednesday.
It would have been during, it was during that evening. And then after he was, and I don't know, it's just flat out fact, is that after he was dead.
When asked to describe the room, Latunski is more than willing to draw them a layout of the scene. There's no hesitance on his part to give them answers, no matter how gruesome they might be.
And it was then that I started to do what I told him I was going to do. I was going to eat part of him. And I did. It was the new moon. And honoring my word to what I said I would do, that was when I... And, that was, just part, I look at it and I say, if that's...
Was that his wishes? Is that the main reason why you did it?
It was the discussion, like wherever, whatever is consumable is consumable.
Sure.
I says, I will eat you, and he says, okay, okay.
So this happened sometime the night of the 24th into the 25th?
It was the night of the 24th into the 25th.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then at what point, how long after that did you take those upstairs?
That was, it was before I went to bed. Because at that point, I stayed with them for quite a while. And that was very important. And I says, you will not die alone. I says, I won't.
And that, to me, as an outsider looking in, that shows me the type of person you are.
I said, I won't do that.
Absolutely.
I said,
you're a man of your word.
Regardless of what it is, I won't let you die alone.
Yeah.
And
that's very stand-up of you.
Well,
not a lot of people would do that.
It wasn't easy. And
no, but you're a good person.
I've met so many people, and even the guy that I spent Christmas with, because I went over and spent Christmas with a guy from Lansing, a guy from, where is he from? I think the Bay City area, and then in Flint, and we laid down, and he was a healthcare worker who worked in nursing homes, and Joel joined us because we didn't have anyone to spend Christmas with.
Who's us?
Not
at your house?
Not at my house. I had actually gone because the water went bad in my house, and some other things happened. I call him his legal name, but when a bunch of stuff started happening that made the living conditions there not very good, and he couldn't stay out of the water. The water was flowing arsenic. I said, you can't drink the water. We took the water to a doctor. The doctor says, don't even bathe in it. He says, I have to go to work. I have to bathe in this stuff. And so when he started to get sick, I took him to the doctor. I showed him the stuff that was going on, and then I helped him get an apartment of his own, so that he wasn't in that mess while I was trying to get it fixed back up and make it livable again. Anyway, so just because, I mean, I put up the Christmas tree, I put up the decorations.
That's nice.
You know, I was living there and you know, trying to hold it together while, you know, trying to fix the reasons of why it was in the condition that it was in. You know, it's trashed by Home Depot. I can't do anything about that. But if a person, you know, he says, I can't live this way because it's a mess and I can't handle it.
Latunski gives a strange account of the living arrangements, and it is hard to figure out how he went from being concerned and caring for a partner to murdering a random stranger.
I can relate to that.
Let's get you into a place that isn't a mess.
Huh? Well, if we can go, and I don't mean to interrupt, I just was going to go back to,
it's fine.
So, if you don't mind, I was just curious of, how did you do that? Did you cook them? Did you, where did you do that? I mean,
on the kitchen stove.
like with a frying pan?
It was the griddle. I mean, I eat Rocky Mountain oysters anyway.
Sure.
I have a carton of them that I had bought. And so it's really very simple. You slice them thin, you saute them with some Worcestershire sauce, and once they're done, you just eat them. You know, the other portions were going to be a jerky and the like. I mean, I didn't know that at the time, and so afterwards, and in fact, I mean, yesterday, maybe it was, well, it depends on what day it is now.
It is now Saturday morning.
But I just ordered a dehydrator so that, you know, so that, you know, I mean, I said not knowing, just so that I could continue to process the way and do what he wanted me to do.
So you would have taken more of his body and put it in the dehydrator?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And where's the dehydrator now?
It's on order at a low rod. I didn't order it until after we talked, and he said that that's what he wanted. And so I, you know, it's like, well, and that's when I started really looking for one to say, you know what, if this is what he wants, then this is what he wants. It's not uncommon.
Did you guys, I might have missed a conversation when I stepped out, and you had said something about
Yes.
Was there other locations within the house that you guys within the house?
No, only the kitchen, where we started in the kitchen, and then we went downstairs, and then everything was there. You know,
what happened in the kitchen?
It was like and I'm going to say the best description is a you know, where he was he was on him, you know, and he And so it was a matter of having you know, different, and I'm going to say it was like different responses in order to say, you know, how do you work through that, because it was something, and it was,
So there was no actual sexual interactions in the kitchen, just...
Correct.
No out there, you were...
No, but...
I got you. And that was all Tuesday night, the 24th, going into the 25th.
The 24th going into the 25th. And, you know, and then I will say is that after it was done, you know, I looked at myself and I went, you know, I was covered in you know, I'm a little not covered, but it's like I had some on me.
The way in which Latunski describes cooking and eating bacon leaves one to believe that, if given the opportunity, he would continue to do this with future victims.
And I looked at it, and you know, it's like I had done what I needed to do, and I looked, I could wash this off. Nope, I'm not going to. And at that point, you know, I went upstairs and I crawled into bed, and I just left it.
Did you ever,
and
did you ever wash those sheets then after you laid it with blood on it?
No. And when I got up the next morning, you know, because I rested, you know, just lightly, I got up and it was middle of the afternoon when I was supposed to go over and meet the other guys on the 25th. And I looked at it and I went, you know what? I'm not. And I left it right on. And I put on what clothing I had. And I went, I'm not going to wash him off.
Where did you put the clothing that you have him on you?
I have no idea. You know, I mean...
You never washed it?
No.
Do you remember what you were wearing?
When we were having our finish dance? Nothing. What was I wearing?
You said you had blood. Did you have blood on your clothes or just your body? Naked
just
body?
My body.
Just your naked body?
Yes.
So at the times and then the time that you assisted him in passing, did you have clothes on at that time? Or were you naked? Okay.
I was naked.
Okay.
I had no clothes.
So there would be blood on the sheets though, where you said you laid down if it came off?
It would be dried. It would be whatever sloughed off. And I looked at it, and again, maybe my thinking of saying, you know what, I'm not going to wash this off. And even when I was talking to someone, I don't feel that I did anything wrong.
Did you tell anybody else about this, other than us?
I did, because part of my culture is that if you have an honorable death, then you have to tell somebody before you pass 3 houses. And so I looked at it, and we've even talked about this, you know, because he gave me the name.
You and what'd you call him?
I actually never used his name. It was only just before and he looked at it, you know, because he says, wow, you really planned a lot of this. I said, I planned nothing. I said, I planned absolutely nothing. I said, okay, let's say that the police have a problem with it. I said, the police have a problem with it, then what? They throw me in jail. Or they try to. I said, I guess I'll just have to deal with that.
It sounds honorable. It sounds honorable.
Well, but in order to make it honorable in my culture, I did have to tell someone. And even when I talked to him, he says, just call me Kevin Bacon. And I went, okay. I said, if I say that I killed Kevin Bacon, he says, no one's going to believe you. I said, I could tell anybody, and no one would believe me. It was because of my name. I actually texted before I ever did anything, I went up and I texted a friend who was, and I'm going to say, what's the correct word? Understanding of the situation, because he's a judge advocate in New York, and I sent him a text and I said, you know what, I did this. I says, and I love him. He's my hero. And
I'm sorry, who's your hero?
The person I killed Kevin Bacon. Kevin Bacon is my hero.
Oh, okay.
And who did you send that text to?
I sent that to who was in New York. He also, like I said, encounters different people with all kinds of different needs. And like I said, at that point, I just texted him and I said, okay, I don't need to do anything else.
Sure.
I was able to tell someone before I even left the house. And at that point, I went, I'm done. You know what? I did it. I complied, and then I went to sleep.
Latunski continues to insist that this is what Bacon wanted, but there's no way anyone could possibly believe this to be true.
And went off to Christmas, and that was when I talked to him, and it's like, and it was really strange because working in the healthcare, was working in nursing homes, and he says, he was talking about how undignified, how horrible sometimes we let people die in that way, how they drag out, and he actually came to tears. I said, someone who had joined us for, I actually don't even know his last name. I actually got a text from him because he thanked me for the discussion that we had, and he wants to, just come down and spend some time with me. But for a completely different reason. Because we didn't talk about this. I put it completely out of my mind as far as saying, you know what, it's done, and now I'm just going to do the things that I agreed to do to the best of my ability. And I hope that I'm able to do that instead of opening up something that he never wanted opened. Okay. And so
So I don't know if you covered it with Josh. When did you end his suffering? Was he or was he on the ground when you did?
He was on the ground.
Okay.
Because he was still in this position, and what I did was I had to move his head in that because at that point I would.
So did you lean over him?
I leaned over.
Can you demonstrate? Pretend his head's against that wall. What did you do? Okay, well, tell me what you did.
I saw that it was going longer, and I took his head and I moved it to the side and this way. So it was as much as I could in order to, whatever it was, it at least initiated another gash that was there wasn't the spray like there was the first time. So it was at least more effective.
So when you say the spray the first time, what do you mean?
That was when
So the spray on the wall is what you think, what you're referring to as the first time?
That was the first one.
And then when you did this,
the second one, it was just, it's like, I need to end this as quickly as I can. And was unconscious, and that was when I started to when he died, I was using the class from the just, and it was after, it was like, okay, I need more things to get on in order to make this happen, and so that's when I started, getting as much rope as I could to get that going.
Did you have to put the rope on the attached to the ceiling, or was the rope already there?
No, I was running the rope through the eye hook.
Yeah, okay.
Because the eye hook was used for, it's that's for other suspension. I had a guy hanging by his balls. That's when you do things like that. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Not really.
Okay. Well, and in any case, that's
more fetish stuff, correct? Okay, so I'm aware that there are fetishes, and fetishes can be a whole bunch of things.
It can be all kinds of things. But the eye hook was there, and so I was running the ropes through, as
Generally, what two adults do behind closed doors is their own business. This is one of the very rare cases where that doesn't apply. Even if Bacon had expressed a desire for things to end this way, it does not give another person the right to actually go through with it.
So you just put those ropes up for, we'll call him Kevin. So you just put the ropes up for Kevin Bacon, or had they been there for a couple of weeks before Kevin Bacon?
No, they had never, those ropes had, no, those were all done that night. And in fact, before he got there, that rope, we tailored it for some of the stuff that we were doing. Because the ends were framed, and because I don't like to waste things, I had just taken and I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before or whenever it was, I had recut some of the ends and done that and taken them upstairs, put them on the stove, and so you'll see with the ropes that they're seared on the ends so that they don't fray, because they're polymer ropes.
In the basement, though.
The ropes that are in the basement, and then because I was trying to readjust and get them up so that I could get some of the sand out to get it out to the flower bed, is that the ropes as you saw them today, all of that, because I've been working with it for the past couple of days to, whenever I can to try to get everything, I was just trying to get everything right so that I could, just make it happen. And like I said, but
where is your van now?
Blew a piston rod in his car, and so today I took my van to him, took his rental back to the Randy Wise out there in London and Dutcher, and then I went to, so he has my van, and then I had Hank Graff and Durand pick up my truck so that I can get the truck roadworthy. So he has the van on just off of Grand Blanc Road.
So he said he has your van. And his
name is.
And who is he you again? If I miss it.
How familiar are you with the leather fetish community? He's been my alpha's mate for
probably more
another reason why he got his own apartment. You don't put two alphas in the same building.
So was your partner until he showed too much dominance for your liking?
And at that point, he got a boy of his own, and I helped him do that. But
what do you mean, got a boy?
Well, he has a man who helps him out, not a partner.
Okay, I don't want to say it wrong. That's why I'm asking questions. That's why I'm asking questions.
We follow the pack dynamics, and so when we were together, it was alpha's mate, and then anyone else was either a beta, submissive, or whatnot. We did not have an omega, with him exhibiting, and he's older than I am, with him exhibiting dominant characteristics.
The detectives try to get a clear picture of Latunski's relationship dynamics. They need to know if this might be something that has happened before and been covered up, or if anyone else could possibly be involved.
To the point that he was willing to say, no. It's like, well, that doesn't fly. You see how that works?
I play that with my dog.
You play that?
With my dog.
You play that?
I'm the alpha dog in this house. You're going to do what I say.
You're going to do what I say.
Not sexually, but as an alpha dog. You know what I'm saying? I hear you.
So, and it was, and I'll tell you, it came from GMC. Mm-hmm. In all of my stupidity, last January, I decided to get him some of that he would have.
It was your own fault.
It was my own fault. I thought it was my own fault. I got him some, and he went on it for, I think it was about 2 months, maybe even it was a month. And one day I can't even be in the same bed with you. And I looked at what was going on, and we charted our sexual history. And I just look at this; it's a straight line down. I said, the second you went on that, it went from flat to this, and here we are today. I said, you've got to get off of that. He went off of it, and what happened? We went right back up. And then he went to GMC and he got the generics, and he says, look what it's doing to me. Look what it's doing to us. What it did to us was, you now had an alpha who was older, who was saying, no, I'm in charge. And you had one that had always been in place saying, if you're in charge of something else, because it ain't going to be to run roughshod over me. So first we separated on 2 different floors. But then when the house fell apart and there was all this other stuff going on and he got sick, that was when I helped him get an apartment. So that we're still together, but we're in 2 locations. And I look at it and I say, no, we can be there, we can be here. We can maintain this.
Do you know his address by chance?
I don't know it. It's actually
and that's where your van's at?
And that's where the van is.
When did he get the van?
Today. Well, yesterday.
So Friday. So you mean Friday or Thursday? Today right now is Saturday.
Friday.
So he got it Friday.
He got it on Friday.
Did he see Kevin in the basement?
No.
Did you tell him anything about Kevin?
I did not. You know, and it's just a matter of, I already told somebody, so...
And that was the guy you texted from New York?
Correct. Yes.
Is he on, that text message will be on your phone?
It'll be on my phone.
Okay.
It'll be on my phone, it'll be on this phone. It's there.
Okay.
And, you know, so, you know, like I said, it's a matter of detail and...
You know, I want to commend you because not everybody can do this. And
than me. I know that there are people who would look at it and say, hell no.
Yeah.
And I look at it and I say, I know that in a lot of different ways for a lot of different reasons, and even, and I was talking to the one police officer, who was looking at the palm tree, and I said, yeah, I drove to Battle Creek, picked up a guy, and I knew that there was something wrong with the profile when I picked him up. 6 foot, 160 pounds. No, not as if something's wrong. But I picked him up, and lo and behold, he was amputated just below the leg 2 weeks earlier. He says, I don't think I told you. And I went, no, you didn't tell me. I says, but let's go decorate the Christmas tree. And I was sitting there, and he says, you know what? He says, my life is going to go right back to, I'm going to, he says, when I'm in Battle Creek, he says, the party's going on around me, and everyone pretends like I'm not there. And I went, well, you know what? Let's go upstairs. We got up, we went upstairs, and I just held him all night long.
At the house? At your house?
Yeah, at my house. At my house. And the next morning he got up. He was a type 1 diabetic, and he'd forgotten his insulin. He says,
The encounter with this other man went so differently from the one with Bacon. What was the difference? What made Latunski comfort one man and kill the other?
He says, I love being here, but I've got to go home. I says, let's go home. I says, I'll be straight with you, though. I says, your life is never going to be what it was. Never. I says, but go home and decorate and put up your own Christmas tree, because those lights are going to make your winter a whole lot better.
Sure.
And, I dropped him off, and his friend came over and picked him back up, and it's like, even before I picked him up, I knew that there was something wrong. And I looked at it, and I think he was afraid that when I saw him with a leg and a half, that I was just going to walk out, because so many people would.
What kind of fetish was he wanting to have happen?
No, I invited him over to decorate the Christmas tree. It wasn't fetish. It was just...
How did you two meet then?
I met him on Grindr. I met him on... he may also have been Grindr. I have no idea.
Okay.
It's just... So it was a different social media, and it was something where we just talked, and we said, this was a Christmas tree decorating party, because I didn't want to decorate that tree alone. In the past, I'd always had someone there, and it was done during Thanksgiving, so that it was a party. But this year, I didn't have anybody to do that with me. So when I reached out, and here this guy wanted to, was agreeable to decorate the Christmas tree, and I happened to be in Lansing, I said, Battle Creek isn't that far. I can just hop down, pick you up, and we'll decorate the Christmas tree. And I get there, and I see a leg and a half, and it's like, he looked at me, and you could tell the face, it was like, okay, here it comes. He's going to say, I'm not interested. And instead, I looked at him and I said, load up. And so we decorated the Christmas tree together. But, so it's not any, it's time spent. It's time spent with who knows who, and whatever they want. And, but in any case,
So when you were talking about what Kevin wanted, and you were going to potentially use his bones for tulips. Where were you planning on putting his bones, I guess? I don't understand. Talking like, where were you going to plant that stuff?
Actually, he wanted me to get and the tulip bulbs off to his family somehow. And so one of the things he said was, get them to, because I said, if I have the ability to get his family from the south side of I-69 to the north side, if that comes about, then they're going to be on the north side somewhere. And if they're on the north side, if tulips show up with a bag of here's the tulips, and this is what you put on them.
So where did you read about that? Like, how did you know that? Like, 'cause I have no knowledge. Like, how do you know that will help?
Helps with any growth of plants, but tulips in particular, like bone meal. But the big thing about tulips is that they are the starvation grade plant. So when you can't get potatoes at the grocery store, you've got the tulips sitting in the ground, and you're the only one who knows where they're at. So the person who plants the tulips and keeps them growing is the person who knows where to dig, because in the wintertime, you don't know where the tulip bed is.
Using Bacon's blood to feed tulips, which he then intended to give to Bacon's family, makes perfect sense in Latunski's mind. Are there any other secrets hidden in his garden? The detectives will have to check, just to be sure.
So that's why, and the Dutch learned that in World War I, is that you can't eat the tulip bulbs out of the stores. They're all covered with the herbicides. You have to have a second-year crop. You have to have something that has been planted and tended so that it's edible. And that was something that, as we were talking about it, I said, is this something that he says, yeah. He says, get some tulip bulbs to my family, and that way, he says, they don't need to know what it is. They just need to know that tulip bulbs arrived.
What caused you to, what was that about?
That was, it was the new moon. I normally do Rocky Mountain oysters on either the new moon or the full moon. It wasn't until after I went upstairs and I looked out and I saw that it was the new moon that I looked at it and I went, you know what? This is where I'll start. And so that was not in particular, he didn't put an order or it was like that one was a matter of, you know what, I could thaw some out, or there they are, and I will start with what is right there.
So,
but that like I said, at that point, he was already gone.
Sure.
It was post-mortem, and it was just a matter of saying, look.
And you said you put Worcestershire on them.
I put the Lee and Perrins Worcestershire sauce on it.
Okay.
And that's just, the griddle is right there, and because that's how I normally eat them. I mean, I had a friend from Ohio that came up, and I tried some of the recipes with Rocky Mountain oysters, and they just produced so much volume that I found that just thin slicing them with Lee and Perrins was best. And I went, well, if it works for the standard Rocky Mountain oysters, it should work for these. And
so that leads me to a question. And again, I appreciate your honesty. I can't make it up.
I'm looking at it, I'm saying, It
And that
is what it is.
And again, that proves to me the type of person you are, the honesty, and
Like I said, it's not a matter of, some people would say, okay, and I think some people would say, not okay. But
so has this ever happened before?
No.
You've never assisted anybody with these type of wishes, or
no, I haven't.
or eaten anybody else's or any other part of the body?
No. And I told him that as well. I've never done this.
Well,
I've never done it.
What you just got done saying, though, was that that's how you normally eat them.
No. I have a carton of Rocky Mountain oysters that I purchased of standard. I bought them from Marin Duff Meat.
Rocky
Mountain oysters are just
oysters, yeah.
And so that's how I had learned to just take the Rocky Mountain oysters, then slice them, put them onto the griddle, put some Worcestershire sauce on them, and I figured if it works for those, it should work for these.
So with these fetishes, how long do you think that you've helped you?
Latunski claims he has never done this before, yet his plan was fairly detailed for someone without any type of experience. He also had no real problem with going through it all, as if bacon was nothing more than livestock to be killed and consumed.
As an alpha, and if I say something incorrect, I don't mean disrespect, I'm just trying to put it in my mind. So you as an alpha, you have these other men that seek out you to help them with their fetishes. How many men do you think that you have helped with their fetishes? Ballpark figures.
How many?
Or for how many years have you been, say, this type of a role?
Well, prior to about 6 years ago, I was submissive. I was a switch, or such. I get thank you letters or notes all the time from people all over the world.
So people from around the world that come to
not either online or like I said, it's because I run a very open an open forum, so that anybody can contact me. They know who I am.
What's the forum called?
I use Facebook. I use I use Facebook a lot.
What's your name on Facebook?
That's Olikos K Lucas, and that's Olikos in Greek. I do keep it. I'm going to say it's not open to everybody.
Sure.
If you're a friend, then you can see what's going on, and so and I'm going to say, here's my life. Here's how I live it. This is what I believe, and if I can help you either in conversations or in real life, then I'm glad to. I've had people come in from Ohio. I've had people come up from Indiana. We go down to Chicago. We've been to Washington, D.C. We've seen people all over. So when you have and I'll tell you, and I said the same thing when I was talking to Julie yesterday. I've looked at the gay or fetish community. Do you know how many alpha males there are in the entire state of Michigan?
How many?
I've only met 2.
And you're one of them. No, you're one of 3 then.
If I classify myself as one, there are only 2 others that I've met in the entire state.
And that includes your friend, correct?
Well, I mean, he's in my pack. He's in my group. He's sure exhibiting alpha characteristics or dominant characteristics of his own, so we had to kind of separate a little. But if you were to talk to him and say, what's a lead ghost to you? He'd say, he's my alpha. So
you're the leader of a pack.
We use that pack dynamics. Okay. You know, I mean, it's very common for that. And like I said, I look at it, and when we all show up to an event or we get together, yes, the three of us, we mark out different areas. I've met people who are alphas in, well, we went to New York City. You know, and I say, I toyed with the alpha in New York City just to see how he protected his people, see how he made sure that men that he was looking out for could go out to a social event, have a good time, get what they needed, and make it home. And so when I got too close, and when one of his group noticed me and paid me a little bit too much of attention, he took his group and he moved them off. And then the person that he had as this little soldier in arms closed up the circle and folded his arms and eyeballed me. It's like we moved from there to here because of you. Oh, good to know.
There may have been some issues with Latunski's group. If questioned, they may be able to give insight into his state of mind.
But that's all a matter of looking at how or what men need.
What's the punishment if you were to intrude? I mean, is there, so that soldier of arms protected that group. What would have happened based on your experience, if you still would have?
Well, you know,
what would be the
recourse? I'm not going to intrude like that.
Yeah, but hypothetically, what would happen?
Well, in all likelihood, and it was, I call it circuit because he had a shirt with just said circuit on it.
Gotcha.
That was at the very first, he'd address me directly and say, back off. I would hope.
Right.
If he were a more aggressive type, if he were a little bit more unhanded, then what? He just looks at me and throws a punch. You know what? You know darn well that happens.
Well, it happens, and I'm not familiar with the fetish culture, so I want to try to understand that.
There are plenty of people who swing punches. It happens.
Okay.
You know,
has it happened to you?
No, it hasn't. I have met people who have swung punches,
right?
And I know who they are,
okay,
and I steer clear of them. But no one has ever gotten violent with me.
What about in your pack? Do you have the same precautions? So you're the alpha. You have your people who look up to you. I forget what you call what terms.
Well, you've got alpha mates, you've got omegas,
yes,
you've got betas.
Okay, so if another alpha were to kind of get too close to some of your omegas, do you have somebody like a soldier at arms as you described?
I haven't put together that rigid or tight of a structure. That's something that just hasn't been available to me because, and this would go back to the trust situation, because the people who have been in my life have been paid by one way or another.
Okay.
Lots of ways to buy someone.
And I meant to ask you a long time ago, and I forgot, and I apologize. Did Kevin pay you for your time? Like when you were, did he? So
No.
Could you have mentioned massages were $200 an hour, and then 15 for a day?
Look.
So that was nothing.
In this situation, it was there no money changed hands.
Okay. So here's another question I have.
And that's okay.
What was? You said you ate a and that you cooked them, and you're saying that you've had them before, but then you're relating to oysters. Have you ever been requested in the past to do something that you did to Kevin, where they were down or they wanted to end their life? Have you ever assisted?
No, there have been people who have hinted at it.
Okay.
There have been people who, just kind of play around with it a little bit, but I've always, that I've shied away from it for obvious reasons, and that in fact it is, like I said, I texted because he was a little bit more, I'm going to say involved or contacted with people who, not in the leather fetish world, not in the gay world, but are aggressively seeking that.
The detectives continue to question Latunski about his pack, possibly looking for patterns of behavior in his interactions with other men. Was the incident with Bacon completely random, or has this been escalating over time?
That I have actually had at my house, and some of the stuff that I have there is from him. It was stuff that he had left behind, and that with that, like I said, I played the fetish role with it, but at the end of the day, with that, I actually bought him a ticket to because.
But who?
And this is why. Is that as we were playing out the fetish role that he came forward with, that he always went back to the thing of he was really concerned about his mom. And I says, you know what?
This is Kevin.
No, not.
Okay.
I says, look, when I really put the screws to you, all you could do was think about your mom. You're in New York. Your mom's in. You know what? If you hop on a plane and you go and spend some time with your mom, I'll buy the ticket. I said, you've got a couple hours to decide. The plane leaves at this time. We drive to Detroit. You hop on the plane and put your money where your mouth is. You're concerned about her? Boom. You can be out there with her. He sat down, he thought about it for a minute. He says, put me on the plane. Down to Detroit we went. Boom. Off he went. And so, you look at it and you say, sometimes you put someone into a crisis position and their response is, whoa, wait a minute. Sometimes you put someone into a crisis position and their response is, I'm ready. And that's the, here was someone who had actually also talked to me about, stuff like that, just as in the fetish world. And, it's like the end result was, oh, you know what? You need to go see your mom. And your mom does not need to see all of this leather here. She doesn't want to see that.
Right.
She wants to. I said, you've got nothing on your back. Get the hell out of here and go see her. Spend some time with her. And, in my opinion, that because I come out of industry and I see how precarious our world is right now, having worked in the power gen industry, and I don't mean to say this to scare you, but when little companies like GE couldn't keep power plants that are running in, states like Arkansas and North Carolina from blinking, and they've thrown in the towel because they don't know how to fix them. We've gotten to the point where our society is so intricate and so precarious that, in my opinion, I'm looking at it and I'm saying, I don't really see an out that doesn't bring some of the things that people have been just kind of wondering about for a long time to a reality. And that's one of the reasons why I've looked at it and said, I don't think you guys can keep the lights on. Now that may be very fatalistic, but I also look at it and I say, that's reality. And so I'm spending a little bit more time, just as his mom is, learning how to, I'm going to say, live off the land. And so that's the point.
Yeah, what are I think you made a distinction between the leather fetish world, and then are there different fetishes within each kind of world? So leather fetish, or are they all kind of the same versus steel? Because I've looked at the text messages and I know that you had asked him.
Latunski goes off on a bit of a tangent, but the detectives allow it. So far, it is still hard to understand why his interaction with Bacon went differently than the others he talks about.
Yeah.
You had made reference. Is there a difference in what they're seeking?
It's all over the board.
Okay. So, and I don't know if you really directed you because you've been honest with us, and Lucas, I appreciate that. I have a feeling this probably wasn't the first person where you helped them end their life. And maybe I'm wrong, but and I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm trying to sit back and visualize how this all played out. And with your demeanor, you're so calm, and I'm just wondering, is this really the only person that that this has happened with?
You're completely wrong.
Okay.
However, and I'm going to put a however in there. As we started the conversation, exactly where is Mark Latunski? Now, that is something that I've become very much a realist about it. Things that I remember from my childhood. I remember going out into a field with Lawrence Dean and with a shovel burying something. When I was this big, in the location that has now been converted into the cemetery that contains the cemetery plot for Mark Latunski. dealing with that reality in a very mature way. Did and I bury this, whatever was left of it at that point? I don't know.
How old do you think you were?
Well, the last record of Mark Latunski was 1972.
Yeah, I'm saying the person I'm looking at now. How old were you as a physical person?
How old was I when that happened? I was maybe 5, 6.
And how? Okay. So at the property that you're at now, at the house right now, have you buried anything on the property?
Have I buried anything on the property?
Let me give you another piece of paper.
Okay. If the house is here, okay, my dog Lad is buried here.
Okay, so you buried a dog.
I buried the dog.
Respectfully. What else have you buried?
I have buried a horse. And actually, I didn't bury the horse. When the horse drank the water out of the barn, it went crazy and dropped dead. And so the neighbor came over and he buried that
Can you
horse
put
right
horse?
there.
Can you write horse?
Horse.
And then dog.
Dog.
Have you buried anything else? Because I'm calling, I'm going to have a cadaver dog go out and just do a property sweep, just so we cover our bases.
You can cover your bases. There are, to my knowledge, there is absolutely nothing there buried.
Okay. Have you taken the life of anybody else? I'm just being...
To my knowledge, no.
Okay. What do you mean to your knowledge?
I have not taken anybody. I'm telling you, this is the first time I've ever done anything like this.
Because you did it so neat and clean. Did you clean up that room at all after he was passed and after you had hung him by his feet? Did you do a lot of cleaning down there?
No.
You can flip over because this is the scene.
I took the sand where the blood was there, and I shoveled out one bucket that had bloody sand, and I put it on the hyacinths and actually the hole had been dug when I was planting the hyacinths because I ran out of hyacinths in the fall, and so the rest of the hole was already there, but there was one hyacinth that was left exposed, and I just took that one bucket of sand and I put it right there.
Just put sand with
sand.
And that is
from basement.
And
it's right there. And it's right there. I mean,
and that has the blood on it.
And that has the blood on it. So the cadaver dog will find that sand right there.
Okay.
If it doesn't, your cadaver dog is broken.
Okay.
I mean, it's just...
I understand what you're saying. So
it's that simple. There's no way that dog won't be able to smell that.
Okay.
That was it. There should be, like I said, as far as I know, and I looked at...
How long have you been at that property?
I've been at that property since 2001. 2001. I bought it in 2000. No, I bought it in 2001, and we moved in 2002.
Okay.
And that was, and I said we, okay, my family or the people who were running the trust purchased a girlfriend for me, and the easiest way to take care of somebody is to make them pretend that they love them. And so I did a fake marriage with this caregiver. Come to find out, if a DNA test were done, she's Mark Latunski's first cousin.
Okay. So you kind of married her first, Latunski's first cousin.
I married a biological first cousin of Mark Latunski. reason that it all fell into place was that she looks just like her dad, just like her father looks nothing like her dad. And because I am second cousins to some of the Latunskis on one side, members of her family, her kids, are my third cousins.
Latunski claims that this is his first murder, but it is easy to see why the detectives are skeptical. To do something like this in such a methodical manner and to remain calm is almost unheard of.
So they show up in my ancestry DNA. So I'm going through the probate system right now, trying to get my third cousins out of my pocketbook.
Gotcha.
What
were you wearing when you put the knife in?
Nothing.
So I
was wearing nothing.
Okay, nothing on. Okay, and then did you shower?
I did not shower.
Okay.
I did not shower.
Okay.
And I, like I said, I just put on, I put on a pair of socks. I put on these boots. I may have even put on this. I mean, and
because I picture Kevin is in some sort of outfit. What did Kevin end up wearing? When he was in the back of your van, what did he decide to put on?
He had on. He had on. He looked at, but it wasn't the right size. He wanted to put on the, but it wasn't the right size. But he put on he had, and then because he was going, and then he had on the and that was it.
So when you're driving him from that parking lot to your house,
I actually had I had him sit on a blanket and then I said, look, if we're driving down the road and someone looks in,
right.
That's what
I'm trying to get at.
So I put two blankets into the back of the van for him, so that he could, and then I turned on the heat so that it was plenty warm.
Yeah.
Like I said, I just looked at it and I went, here, this way. I says, look, and as we were looking at this different stuff, I said, if you decide to go with I said, then it has to be removal. I said, I could see it now. We get stopped by the cop. The cop looks in the back. He sees you all tied up. And this is one thing I actually said to him. I said, they stop us, and he says, what's that? And I says, don't worry, it's okay, it's consensual. And then the cop is going to undo you, and he's going to say, is this consensual? And you're going to say, yes. I says, if you don't say yes, then you better hope that I never get out of prison. It's like I laughed about it, but that's all serious because people will say yes, and then later it's like, well, no, or I meant it to be no, and you really have to be very careful of when a person is saying no and when they're really saying no.
Sure.
And
when more or less the role playing versus out of that fetish world, they're saying, no, I've had enough. Legitimately. I need you to stop. I need to go back home and let you know. So when he's riding and you're driving, he basically, essentially, he's got no Nothing covering his legs, nothing covering his shirt.
He is.
Other than blankets.
He's and that was just part of just.
Well, let me ask you this. On the topic of, is Kevin the only person that you've taken the life of? Back in November, the troopers came out because there was somebody who ran from your house.
When asked about some of the incidents involving the police, Latunski claims that what he was doing with the men was consensual. Since he also says that about Bacon, there is a better than good chance that those men did not consent either.
What I'm saying is, if that was a consensual act, at what point or what caused him to flee leads me to believe that Kevin isn't the only one. That's what I'm trying to explain.
Fair enough. And this is what I will say, is that, and I don't even remember the chap's name, is that he was playing along very well until he got me, and I had no problem with that, and I'm saying, by that time, all of that was all done. He was freely walking around the house. There was no problem whatsoever. I in fact had taken my eyes completely off of him. It's like, you know what? Like, if you want to sit the upstairs, go ahead, sit the upstairs. Go, do what you want. It was interesting that at that point, and I don't know exactly what is going on inside of his head, but he had full ability to get his own clothes. They were right there.
But
he went to one of the most expensive pieces of leather articles that I own and put that on.
Wasn't it like $300?
Actually,
I think that's what you told me.
There's 300, probably closer to 500, but yeah.
I think that's what you told me.
Several $100.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, a bar vest, $50. You know what? A pair of jeans, $60. No big deal. He shinnies into something worth a couple hundred that was a very nice, like I said, I'm going to say the nicest piece of leather article that I have. And he decides to walk out the door with that. Now, I'm just saying, like I said,
but didn't he go there wanting a sexual encounter with you?
Yes.
So then why would he freak out when?
No, it was. I'm sitting there and I'm like going, And then we went upstairs, and it's like I went into bed, and that was when he started. I was laying down. It's like. I mean, this doesn't offend you. I mean,
no, it doesn't. I'm a grown man.
Okay, and I'm looking at it, and it's like, and he's just wandering around the place, and I'm laying there, I'm dozing off, and it's like, thinking this is no big deal. I'm just gonna take a little nap right now because I just, or at least he. And whatever it was, and then all of a sudden I hear the door open, and I went, well, that's kind of weird. And I go to the door and I look out. I'm not wearing anything, and I look out the door, and And he's just walking across the yard. I mean, he wasn't...
In that leather...
He had on my $300 leather kilt, and he's walking across the yard. Now, we'd already talked. He knew which neighbor he could go to who doesn't care for me at all. He walked past that house. He walked past the next house. And it's like I look at him, and then he books it 2.5, 3 houses down and decides to start climbing fences. I'm like going, you're stupid. What's going on here? And it's like, but then it was like, and my personal opinion is that he found the nicest piece of leatherware. He shimmied into it, and he was going to walk with it. And
Latunski has the sort of charisma that allows him to make it look like it is the other person that is irrational, while he is the level-headed one. This makes him even more dangerous to potential victims.
If he got out of sight where I didn't know where he was, boom, he could call somebody and say, look, and then go home with it. I actually had to go, I want my kilt back. And it's like, oh, that's your kilt? Yeah, I want my kilt back. Here are his clothes sitting in a dang pile right in front of the door.
Okay.
So I look at it and I'm not past that myself, because when I was younger, you know, and it's like, I mean, I did it myself with little articles. You know, it's like, well, gee, I don't have this, you know, this porn video. So it's like, you know, into the bag it went. And it's like, so I always have to be careful of that, because when you've got items of a fetish nature that are kind of expensive,
Okay.
for something to just disappear like that, no. You know, even if all the stuff with the trust and whatnot, I can't get at that money.
Gotcha. So with these fetishes, do any of these people want it recorded?
Do they want it recorded?
Or do you record them? So
I have videos of and I.
Okay.
They're fantastic. Men love them.
What about Kevin?
No, I didn't record it. I mean, he didn't want it. It didn't come up.
It didn't come up?
It didn't come up.
So there's no video of you and Kevin together, or you quickly ending his life, or anything like that?
No, there isn't. And I mean, as far as I know, there isn't. And I say that because for when first got together with me, he was paid. And however it was that arrangement, whatever he got, just like the person that I was with before, and I talked to because I got very close, and he kind of said, okay, I'm not taking their money anymore, you know. And in some cases it was, I can see how you're turning the trust money back on, and I'm going to turn it back off on you. Oh, by the way, that doesn't work anymore. I had to move all the capital.
How much are you talking?
Let's put it this way,
This is roundabout.
more than you could ever put a figure on.
Okay.
It's that big.
All right. So
And I don't mean as far as saying
no, I'm fine. I'm okay with that.
it's
a lot of money.
It's enough money so that you could buy someone, buy surveillance, and make sure that everyone around me is on the payroll easily. And so that was going on because I talked to him. I said, so whenever I'm talking to this person and the information that I give them, because I'm a scientist, I cross-check stuff. You know, I cut someone up and all of a sudden I get a message from this person. Hey, what's going on? I said, so whenever I'm talking to this person, they're relaying information back to them. He says, yep, basically. I said, there you go. And it linked right back to the people who were pulling the strings in the background. So, even in some regards, you know, I could almost guarantee all of my communications, all of the people that I contact, everybody that I run into in one way or another, maybe not through the government, maybe in ways that are being run through this trust, everything's being recorded. Absolutely.
Latunski believes he is constantly being recorded, which is a sign of paranoia. Surprisingly, he doesn't get as agitated as many people with this belief.
Everything. So there's no way for me to run anything in private. Now, when I came to that realization that nothing is private, absolutely nothing, and the fact that my cell phone communication and everything else is all wrapped up into this because, hey, they get all of that, all of those bills, and they get all of the access. So when I talked to the New York bankers and looked at it and said, how do I exist in this world? Now that I know that it's there, how do I exist in it? And they say, well, you know what? You just have to exist in it as best you can. And I was like, so nothing in my life is private. Absolutely nothing. So to your extent, that's very liberating to say, you know what? A person's going to like it. A person can not like it. It doesn't really matter because like it or don't like it, it's still out there.
I want to go back over as a summary. You've been in here a long time, John.
I know. I am tired of.
That's all right. I want to go back over with Kevin. So you initially start talking with Kevin on Grindr.
Mm-hmm.
You guys meet in person on the 24th in a parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
You go to the house. There's sexual activity that occurs in the kitchen and then downstairs. And then,
yeah, I mean, there's, as far as I would consider it, the scene started, you know, when he said, yes, I'm in, let's start this, okay, because, you know, at that point, starts. So and that's why there were so many, and that was part of the play. It was going on, and then it was the discussions afterwards that continued it. So
you role put all the people blindfold on, blindfold off.
Blindfold on, blindfold off, change position, switch to that is for flogging usually.
Okay.
So you know, I mean, it was you know the purpose of flogging, right?
Don't know the purpose of it, but
okay. Well, what it does is it activates the blood vessels in the skin, so that the each of the different movements that went through a different scenario.
Okay.
And
So then, exactly how did Kevin say, or what led to Kevin's death? He was telling you specifically what?
well, I mean, it was a fairly long conversation.
In summary.
And in summary, I mean, he was talking about how many different times or in different little ways that he had that because he just had it's difficult.
So he had attempted to, so he's telling you previously, and then what you're saying is he asked you to do that for him. Okay.
Yes.
Once again, Latunski claims that Bacon asked him to do this, and it isn't any more believable than it was the first time.
And it was part of that, and it was like, well, you know, I mean, it's part of it as far as saying, how do you make sure that it's all there? It's like, well, I put all of this together, and he's looking at it, he says, well, with the planning, and it's like, well, none of this was planned. This, you know, it's like, you started laying this out, and this is what I put together for you to do this. And that's when the conversation turned in that direction, and it was like, well, these are the things that happened. It didn't necessarily roll that way. It was just a matter of, and then it's like, yeah. So, and then it was a matter of piecing the different things together.
So when he told you that, was that knife already down in the basement, or did you go up and get it?
No, I actually went up and got it and then brought it down. So no, it was not down there.
Okay.
I mean, it was where was it? It was upstairs.
Okay. So you went upstairs, got it, and then that's when you put the knife. He's laying on the ground.
Well, you say then. I mean, this was. We had actually talked for, and I can't even put a time on it. I mean, it was. There were lots of pieces of the discussion of what was there, but you know, like I said, at the point, it's like, well, there's different ways. He asked me to go up and get the sword. I mean, I do have a sword. It's just not sharp. I'd gotten the sword at the Renaissance Festival. It's never been used. It's just an ornament over the mantle. No big deal. But you know, even with that, I looked at myself and said, it's not sharp. That's wrong.
Okay.
I can't do that. I can't do that.
So where was the knife when you got it? Was it in your bedroom or was it somewhere else?
I think it was. It was in the kitchen.
Okay.
It was in the kitchen.
In the kitchen. Okay. So then you go downstairs, and eventually you do the knife kind of back here on his neck.
Yeah, I mean,
you said he went unconscious.
Yeah. Yep.
And then you lift up his face. And
that was after when this didn't happen quick enough, and that was when they'll probably see it. I mean, they'll have. I mean, if they look at it, that's what they'll find.
So you said your vehicle
apartment building.
Right.
And so...
And that's where you think the van is...
Could be, sure.
That's that Santa Fe.
That's the Santa Fe. Now, if you guys take that, it's not going to have any transportation. Is that something is that something that you're planning on doing?
I don't know.
Seizing that vehicle?
I don't know.
You know,
I mean, or is this something?
we got to look at it.
Okay.
Because that's what Kevin wrote in, right? So we have to look at it.
Yeah. If you have to look at it, then look at it.
That's what we're going to do.
Okay.
So then you stab him in the back of the back there on his mouth.
It was.
Okay.
Latunski tells the detectives exactly where he stabbed Bacon.
Probably, it's an apartment.
Oh, yeah, I get it.
But if it's during the day, then you'd probably catch the vehicle at corner of and in the Map Strip Mall.
Okay. So then after you put...
Yeah, it was, no, the leather was some of the leather was already there.
So then
I started trying to use the leather in order to, it was on for a while, but then I went and started using the rope just because it was more secure. And it was that the rope that you see on there is I mean, what I was doing at the time, I was doing everything I could to get it where it was.
And the purpose was when you strung him or pulled him so he's suspended, the purpose was so the blood would go into the ground.
Right, so the blood would go into the ground and then would be contained rather than, because by that time he was already unconscious and it was just a matter of saying it's done and that there was no more movement. I mean, it was still warm.
Was that dirt, that ground area, had that been like that for a long time, or did you cut that out after, or did you kind of make that square, so he's, was that dirt there previously, or did you recently cut that out?
That dirt's always been there.
So that little section has always been there?
That from the time that was built, that's always been there because it has the St. Andrew's cross on it, because the door comes open and your St. Andrew's cross is there and you've got the bar on the top that has the suspension. So the purpose is not the sand. The purpose is to have a St. Andrew's that has a flogging station there that allows for flogging.
Okay.
The sand is just there because that's the floor that was there, and it's hard to suspend. It's hard to affix a St. Andrews to the cement wall and have it stable.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it was originally designed, I looked at it and I went, well, why not put a St. Andrews that is either there or not there, and that's the X that is there.
Is that on the bottom of the door as it comes up like this?
Yes. You've got a place for a chin rest, and then if you look at it, if you've got different widths that you do as far as where you affix the hands, because when you are, depending upon who you've got, I've had some people who are real, who are real masochists, and so, I mean, it's a matter of saying, come on, is that all you've got? and that's something that's like their skin becomes so desensitized that they're just as tough as nails, and just look at it, it's like, yeah, that's all I've got. It's like, oh, you did nothing. And so, I mean, that's.
So the exposed dirt there, why is that exposed dirt there?
Why is the exposed dirt there? Because St. Andrews needed to be down, and the exposed dirt's always been there.
Since you own the house?
Yeah.
Why haven't you covered that up?
Why?
To me, I just don't understand that. That's all I'm trying to get. I don't follow it.
When the basement was poured, they poured the basement, but they didn't pour any cement in that room.
Okay.
So it was just like in the root cellar that's in the back. You'll actually see that there's a flat wood floor that goes all the way across. In that room, you've got the wood floor that was put in after the cement was put on the top, because that room was originally designed for like hose and patio furniture storage.
The basement sounds like it was the perfect location for what Latunski had planned for Bacon. It is just another thing that is arranged a bit too neatly to allow the detectives to believe that this is his first murder.
It was.
You built the hardwood, the wood floor over top of dirt.
Yeah, the dirt was always there.
When
this is the Michigan basement floor.
Right. When Kevin was laying here like this, was that door open or closed? Was it always open? Or?
Well, it got opened when he went onto the flogging. That's when that got opened.
Which is part of the fetish.
Which is part of the
fetish. Which was prior to him being.
Oh, that was prior.
So then when he was laying here and you put the knife in his neck, that door was still stayed open.
Yeah, from the point where the portion of the scene where he. It was like, hey, it's like you're trying this. This is.
Yeah.
That was open. Okay. And so because it was open, it just stayed open at that point. So that's where that came from.
You said there's nobody else that you've done this to, as far as where their life has ended down there.
Nope.
Is that the truth? You've been truthful so far.
It's the truth.
Yeah, it's not the truth.
It is.
Whoever you want to claim as your God.
It is the truth. I can't tell a lie for anything. It is the truth.
Yeah.
I have never done it. I've never done this before. This is.
Another question that came to mind. Actually, the guy, one of our partners that's out there at the house, had asked. In the kitchen on the stove, there's a couple different pans.
Mm-hmm.
There's one that's got some vegetables like potatoes and stuff already in it.
Yeah.
And then there's another one that I think might be clean or doesn't have anything in it. Do you remember which pan you would have used to?
I think that's the griddle. The flat one.
The flat one. So I don't remember because I haven't been out there. Is one more rounded and one's flat?
Well, I
distinguish between the two.
I use cast iron.
Okay.
Okay. And so the
you don't remember which one?
It was whatever. I don't know. I put it onto a flat surface.
Okay.
That was it. I put it on a flat surface. Like I said, whether you are, and even the way you're asking that question, that's like I look at it and I say, maybe you're being square with me. Maybe you look at it and you say, you know what, this is all on the up and up. Maybe you're just playing me.
I'm not
I don't
playing you.
know.
We're just trying to get
Just get, because we're here and it's there and we're trying to get a mental picture. And you, listen, you've been completely honest with us and we appreciate that. And I'm a completely honest person with you. I'm not blowing any smoke, nothing. Okay.
I look at it and, you know, even when they showed up, you know, I mean, obviously the name that he'd used, and I didn't know whether it was his real name, a fake name, or what, because that's so common, particularly with anyone in the fetish arena. And sometimes, you know.
Oh, so the name Kevin Bacon is a common name used by?
No, it's not a common name used by people, but it's common for people to give names other than their own.
I follow.
And so, you know, even when they showed up, it's like they said, well, you know, it's like you can come in. I'm not going to hide anything.
Latunski didn't even know if Bacon was using his real name, which points to this being a crime of opportunity rather than a personal motive.
You know, quite frankly, my life is an open book anyway. You know, and so I look at it and I say, it is what it is. Come on in. You want to see something? Go ahead and see it. I don't care. Because, you know, it is what it is. And even when in dealing with this stuff for when I say crap, for the probate stuff, I was in there with a guy who was a petty thief who broke into houses. Now,
which probate court here in Shiawassee?
Here in Shiawassee, they're dragging me through, and like I said, it's a sham because you don't marry first cousins. So you look at it and you say, on paper, the person that is Mark Latunski that she married is a first cousin. Yeah. In reality, we're third cousins. But when they want it to be reality, they pretend that I have black hair and brown eyes. When they want it to be on paper, they say, but on paper it says you're no relation. Well, why are we toggling between reality and fantasy to your discretion? Why can't we toggle between reality and fantasy to my discretion? Because then the picture looks completely different. And I look at it and I say, you know what? Okay, fine. I went to a lawyer. They need paperwork filed. I said, this is what the paperwork says. I don't know whether or not a first cousin can be married, but if you use this birth certificate and this DNA sample, they're first cousins.
Gotcha.
And if you decide to ignore one or the other, why are we sitting here in a divorce court when you're talking about marrying first cousins that are Latunskis?
So at the house, it's just you that live there, though, right?
Right now, it's just me that's living there.
Okay.
Me and Athena and I.
Is there anything else that we should know about?
Who's Athena?
The dog.
Oh, sorry, I missed that.
Oh.
The most important part?
The most important part.
But you buried a different dog in the backyard as well as a horse that drank water that causes it to die.
Yes, the neighbor buried the horse in the back corner. The dog is buried back just past the backyard.
And then you put the sand kind of in the hyacinths. So you put the sand.
The sand is in the front of the garden that is just west of the house, and it's not buried. It's just there. It's
where Kevin would have let out.
And it's in a spot that's like that wide by that wide. It's going to be just right there. I just took it and I went here. It's on the hyacinth bed. And that was just my process of starting to clean up and
what? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No.
I apologize. What if no one had shown up at the house, and maybe you already told us in that story, remember? What were you going to do with his body?
His internals were going to go out back, and I was going to put the peach pits in them, and then of them, I have the chestnut that are in the refrigerator, and I had been meaning to plant them before, but really never had anything that, you know, to grow them with. I was going to drop the chestnuts into a portion of them. There's the pile of mulch out back. I was just going to cover them with mulch.
You're going to cover the bones with mulch?
No, not the bones. I was just going to take the internal gut portions and get rid of it, so that they were each growing things. The muscle portion was going to go into the dehydrator that I purchased after, you know, yesterday, or it's going to be delivered on Monday, because that was, you know, that came out of the discussion. So I didn't have anything, you know, planned for it at that point. And then I was just going to, you know, crush up the bones into bone meal, and then see if, you know,
seasoning.
What?
Seasoning, is that what you said?
No, grind them up into bone meal, and take the bone meal and pair them with tulip bulbs, and figure out some way to, you know, just have them appear somewhere. You know, it's like
in memory or
just however it worked. You know, if it's a matter of getting it to happen, so that.
And putting the muscle from the body into the dehydrator.
Into the dehydrator.
Would have to eat like jerky.
Basically, yeah. Jerky it up, and that's, you know, I know a lot of people don't understand that, but, you know, it's like I look at it and.
You know, we're open to a lot of things.
And I say, it is what it is. It's a matter of just making it happen. So.
We're going to take a quick break, and we'll get right back with you.
You need a bottle of water in it?
I love water.
The detectives take a short break, and after all of the details they have been given, they probably need it. It is difficult to hear such details and try to remain visibly calm, especially for prolonged periods of time.
Down here. Can you grab me a blue pen? I forgot one. I'm not sure where it is. Oh, here it is. Never mind, I got one. What we would like to get from you is very painless and simple, but we'd like to take some samples of your DNA, if you're okay with that. There's nothing magical about it. We would take a Q-tip and 2 different ones rub on the inside of your cheek as a sample. I would also like to, if you're willing to allow us to, I'd like to take pictures of your hands and your forearms. Just get photographs.
So you can see that there's
no injuries.
There's no injuries.
Right. As well as your bare chest and down to your underwear, and I won't even do that here, or maybe we will. Maybe if just pull your skirt up there, kilt. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you. Is that a kilt?
It's a kilt. I'm not at all bashful. I don't care. I mean, I take good pictures all of the time. I mean, for gosh sake, I rent my time to men who want to spend time with me.
Okay.
And that's more honest money than what this damn trust is taking.
Well, and I don't think we don't need his pictures of his privates. Just your legs and your arms and your chest.
Yeah, there are no pictures. Yeah.
Latunski is going to be photographed and checked for any wounds he may have gotten during a struggle with Bacon.
So yeah, and then in addition to, I want to just get some samples of like by your fingernails and with a Q-tip.
Yeah, like I said, I have. Yeah, I showered it.
So you have showered since?
Well, yesterday. I mean, I didn't even think because because everything had sloughed off. So yeah, I showered. Yesterday.
That should have been recorded, right?
I took it out from earlier.
Oh, do you? That's a good one. I have a problem. No.
Oh, you don't have to. I'll find some.
So if you're willing to do that,
I'm willing. You mean pictures and
in pictures, and then and in this form here is just a consent. It says I will print your name there. Willingly give my permission or consent for the authorized law enforcement officials
what
or officers
what name do you want?
of the Michigan State Police and their designee. You can use the name that you used earlier.
Then that way it is. Okay. And like I said, it's a matter of saying, okay.
You know what? I'll get this information on your vehicle. Do you have, how many vehicles do you have? Just one or two?
I have two. One is at Hank Graff Chevrolet.
But that's not involved.
That's not involved.
The van.
But and then the van is a 2018.
Nice.
And that is nice. It's not nice.
Not nice?
It is a Hyundai. And it is a Santa Fe. Oh, Santa Fe.
That's fine. That's the plate.
Oh, plate.
You know the plate number by chance?
7201. And how many letters do they have?
It depends, 2 or 3.
I think there's a V in there. I think it's a B-E-V or something like that. Is
Okay.
that
And I can find the actual
that's a
one.
question.
But that right there,
Michigan plate.
if you read
I don't know. I
that,
have no idea what the VIN number is. What's it say?
to conduct a complete search of the motor vehicle owned by me and under my care, custody and control, including interior, trunk, engine compartment, and all containers therein.
Yeah.
If that's okay. Use
Yeah.
the initial there.
Yeah. Let's go.
Are you okay with doing the bond?
Yeah, no.
All on one?
How do you spell your last name on that again?
That's VILKAS. Lucas.
Okay.
And
And then to obtain a buckle sample to the taken by an MSP representative, I further give buckle swab out of your chain.
buckle swab.
Yeah.
Sure.
Here, let me just read it to you so we're thorough here. I further give permission for the release of this sample to an authorized law enforcement officer of the Michigan State Police for the purpose of obtaining a lab analysis. You're okay with that?
What you will find is that, yes, I did fuck him.
Fair enough.
It's true.
And that was consensual.
It was, that's all, I mean,
So just initial there if you're still okay with that, the buckle swab. And then down here, we'll read, I give this permission freely and voluntarily. I have not been coerced or threatened in any manner. No promises have been made to cause this grant or permission. I know that I am not required by law to give permission, and the results of the analysis may be used as evidence in possible court proceedings. I further understand that the sample given will be destroyed at the completion of the judicial process. If you're willing to sign that, put today's date and time.
I mean, the fact is that I'm fully admitting that I had contact all over him and he had contact all over me.
Right. Yeah.
This is not gonna do anything to, and so you here.
Nope.
Just here.
Date and time there.
There's paperwork to be filled out, and Latunski has no problem with verifying that everything is told him is the truth. at least the truth as he sees it.
Date and time. So today,
December 28th, and it's 8:50,
28th of December
and it's 8:55.
of 2019, and it is
55.
8:55
A.M.
a.m.
And then your signature goes there. Mr. Wilkos, do you know your social security number by chance?
I know the Social Security number
Give it to you.
stolen identity.
You want to put that one down? Or no?
There is no Social Security number for Edgar
Okay.
Thomas Hills because given the fact that my mother was not a U.S. citizen and all of her family is in Canada, as I talked with my cousins who are in Canada, there is no way that I could have been born in the United States without a record.
No problem.
So
I think the bottom...
although the Social Security number is there, it's for someone who isn't,
Okay, not you.
who isn't me. They're going to find that when they do their DNA that it's not me. So as crazy as that is.
All right. So, let me take your buckles first.
Sure. Compare it to your system and see if this DNA shows up anywhere else. And if you guys find a Mark Latunski out there with black hair and black eyes and is a cripple, I want to know where he is.
Gotcha.
You laugh, but it's like, it was done for a reason.
All right,
I
let's do
knew
your
it.
right cheek first.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to poke in the tooth. That's buckle swab 1. This is right cheek.
Oh, you mean I might be different on the right and left?
Yeah, right. I don't know. Somebody wants to do it. I don't think so. Better than a fingerprint, right? Left cheek.
You left cotton in my mouth.
My fault.
You abraded it too hard.
I'm just going to get these wet with some sterile water. What I'm going to do, I'm going to use one for your right hand.
Let's see what.
Just going to kind of go underneath your nail. Oop.
Yeah, because like I said, I stay, because I'm living in a house where I'm told not to bathe, that I haven't really aggressively done anything, and I was left working with the stuff that was in the basement, so that's there. We're probably going positive.
Right hand under the nails.
DNA swabs have been taken. Even though Latunski is admitted to killing Bacon, it is always best if there is plenty of evidence to back up a confession.
said, I didn't aggressively wash anything off.
Well, you said you did take a shower, though.
I took a lot. I don't. You know, obviously, there's still stuff under my nails. So, but I very deliberately, I didn't want to wash them off. So.
You didn't want to wash them off?
No.
You say him, you mean
Kevin?
You mean Kevin, right?
Because, you know, that it was, it's kind of hard to explain. You know, I just look at it and I say, to wash someone off would be a sign of disrespect.
Sure, I get that.
And so, I'll do like that.
Is this?
What you need? Oh, you need specifically
I was just looking at that mark in your hand. I didn't know if it was I thought it was red.
No, I don't.
You had the rings on during the incident?
When there were times because I have this necklace, okay, and it was, you know, in order for me to, you know, I had the rings on and off at different times so that they were noticeable or not noticeable. I tried to, you know, switch back and forth, but so I would say it's possible I didn't specifically take them off or think that unless they were jangling, and then it was like, oh, I need to, you know, like there was a time when I took the necklace off,
right?
Because, you know, if the necklace was jangling. So, you know, I mean,
That's good for that, isn't it?
yep.
All right. You want to take your shirt off, bud?
Oh, sure.
And I will take photos of your front and back and your hands. Where do you work out at?
I go to Snap Fitness, and well, recently it's been the one on Bristol Road in Flint, because I have a call. Goes to gets home from work, and so I'll drive out to Grand Blanc. We used to go to the one.
Both hands out first. All together.
What you want that?
Yeah.
And
Then take them and put them both like that.
oh, like that.
Okay.
So that red mark right there is from the handcuffs. Handcuffs. Can that thing say handcuffs?
No, the pictures say what?
Do they?
What handcuffs, though? Are we talking the state police handcuffs or your own?
The handcuffs that I was sitting in here for 3 hours with.
In the back of the car for a little bit?
In the back of the car
Can you go
for
like this?
3 hours. Can I do this? Sure. So you have a full 360.
Can you just take your beard because it kind of covers a lot.
I can
Just pull it up
I
a
have
little bit.
a beard. I can do.
It is unlikely that Latunski will have any wounds. Bacon was in a vulnerable position and did not get a chance to fight back if Latunski's description is in any way accurate.
All right. to expose himself.
You want legs up like that?
Yeah. All right, just turn a little bit. You can pull up the backside a little bit. All right. Thank you, sir. It's cold. It is cold. Huh? Yeah, hold this over.
Okay. Well, at this point, we are going to put you back in that cell there. And under the circumstances, you're going to be going to jail tonight until so we can figure out exactly what the prosecutor wants to do. All right. So with that, a uniformed trooper will take you over to the Shiawassee County Jail.
You know that the prosecuting attorney here doesn't like. I think she doesn't like me.
You can take that water. We'll put you in the cell over here, and then we'll get somebody over to somebody here to take you over there as soon as we can.
And there's no ifs, ands, or buts. I mean, there's
Also, it's not out of our hands. I mean, we have to, what's the word I'm looking for? The governing authority for
the bureaucracy.
in the county is the prosecutor. So we're kind of at liberty of what they say. So we're going to tell them what's taking place.
Latunski is taken from the room to be prepared for his trip to the jail.
We'll express to them how cooperative you've been and appreciate that. And then ultimately they have to tell us, yes, take him to jail, or no, we'll let him go for now.
That's fine. And if if part of the concern is that you don't want me to mess with anything, I am perfectly happy to, because I have experience with it, if you want to do the average job.
And we'll let them know that too.
And then I'm perfectly happy to say, look, do what you have to do,
Is there a need for the cadaver dog?
I mentioned him that everybody call him out.
If there's anything very good, I want to know about it. So it's a free service that I can get, just to make sure that there's nothing that I don't know about.
We have free service.
Then that's great. So.
Okay.
All right. Well, like I said, we'll get somebody to take you over to jail. Are you able to take them out?
Okay.
Okay.
Then I can go where?
All right. Just want to put that water bottle on here. You want to take one more sip with it?
Mark David Latunski's mental competency to stand trial was called into question several times, and he underwent multiple evaluations, which delayed his trial. From the moment of his arrest and all the way through his trial, Latunski admitted his guilt. Mark David Latunski pleaded guilty to homicide, open murder, and disinterment, and mutilation during a plea hearing. He was sentenced to life in prison without possibility of parole.